I'd like to call to order the regular meeting of the September 6, 2023 Fitchburg Conservation Commission. The Conservation Commission has 7 members. Members are citizens residing in Fitchburg, Massachusetts. The Commission is appointed by the City Council and serves on a volunteer basis. The Commission collaborates with the residents, businesses, and organizations to facilitate compliance with the 8 interests of the Wetlands Protection Act and the Fitchburg Wetlands Bylaw. Meetings of this commission are subject to and abide by the open meeting law. If you would like more information about any of these regulations, feel free to ask a commissioner, agent, or the environmental consultant. Thank you for your commitment to the conservation of our natural resources. And thank you for your patience as we navigate this hybrid meeting. The commission requests that folks wishing to speak approach the podium and speak clearly into the microphone. And remote attendees maintain microphones on mute for privacy. If you would like to speak, use the chat or raise your hand function to alert the chair. Be advised this public meeting is being live streamed and recorded by FATV. If a member of the in-person audience is recording this meeting, this is your opportunity to identify yourself for the public record. I'd like to call the roll. Commissioner Baker.
Here.
Commissioner Christian. Commissioner Donnelly.
Yep.
Commissioner Helene. Commissioner Satterfield. Attendance. Commissioner Jacobs.
Here.
All right. Let's see. We had a...
Do you want to do Oak Hill first?
Yeah. The Ivor Johnson Group graciously offered to allow the Oak Hill Country Club NOI to go forward. So we'll call that first. Let me get to that. Okay. So under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Fitchburg Conservation Commission will open the hearing for notice of intent, Oak Hill Country Club, Solar LLC, Oak Hill Country Club, Shea Street. Speaking to the notice of intent.
Excuse me. Good evening. My name is Anthony Cleaves. I'm with Haley Ward, representatives of the applicant for the solar project before you. Jamie Rowe, who has been the previous meeting representing the project, could not make it tonight, so I'm here on his behalf. We've asked for a continuation of the hearing so that the third-party wetland review could take place. I believe discussions had been had with your department on that. I believe it was LEC Environmental, I think was who was chosen for that. So again, we had asked for a continuation of the hearing so that third-party review could take place.
Thank you. Let's open the floor for public comment. Would anyone like to speak in favor of or against this hearing or would like to request more information? Please state your name and address for the record. And if you spoke last week, we're going to ask that you not rehash your comments. And if you have new information that you'd like to share, we'd be happy to hear about it or new questions to ask. But if last week we can't have another 4-hour meeting tonight, please. Councillor Kuchar.
Good afternoon. Attorney Andrew Kuchar, Ward 3 City Councilor, 64 Farmer Ave here in Fitchburg. I'm here to speak up against this project. I understand that the company wishes to postpone their hearing today, which ultimately it's up to the commission because more information is necessary, but the information that we've been able to gather since our last meeting has been definitely eye-opening. I was lucky enough, my schedule allowed me to attend a meeting at the site in regards to Leominster's concern in regards to the project. And let's just say that my eyes were opened in regards to that, even more so than they already were. During this meeting, a contract between the city of Fitchburg and the city of Leominster was discussed in regards dating back to all the way back to 1927, in which the city of Fitchburg guaranteed the quantity and quality of the water going into No Town Reservoir. And needless to say, the representatives of the city of Leominster were quite concerned in regards to this project, and they also wondered why they weren't notified a little sooner, because it does impact the quality of water going into No Town Reservoir. They can have their continuance if they wanted. They need more information. I understand that. We're in the preliminary, exploratory provisions of this project. But ultimately, this needs to be denied. I understand that the Conservation Commission has limited authority on what they can do, but considering that they want to cut down the amount of trees that they are projected to cut down, and the amount of water problems that we already have in that neighborhood, and I'm not talking just about the Shea Street. I've gotten concerns from people on Pepper Road, people on Sarah Road. Even on Oak Hill Road, they're concerned about all this. I have done an extensive door-knocking campaign in regards to this project up in the area, and everybody in that area is more than concerned about this project. And that needs to be addressed both by the Planning Board as well as the Conservation Commission about our residents' concerns, as well as the concerns of Leominster suing Fitchburg in breach of contract of the 1927 agreement. This is getting into a point where the city of Fitchburg could be liable for any kind of issues or damages as a result of this. And I really don't think the city of Fitchburg has the financial resources to combat a lawsuit between the two sister cities. So that's something that you really need to consider, and I call on the Conservation Commission as well as the city of Fitchburg. We've seen these projects fail time and time again. Again, I'm going to bring up Mad River Solar. I'm going to bring up the Pearl Hill Road project that happened. These projects fail. And I'm calling on the Conservation Commission as well as the city of Fitchburg to put a moratorium on cutting down our green spaces in order to be able to put up these solar farms. It makes no sense to go green if you're cutting down the green. So thank you, and I speak on behalf of my residents in Ward 3. Thank you.
Thank you.
Sam Squalia, City Councilor at Large. So regarding water quality and stormwater control, I've spoken with a number of residents up in the Shea Street area and the Pepper Road area particularly. There is a much larger concentration of water problems, stormwater control really, and water problems in the people's properties and their basements. I've been told it was previously a swamp and it never should have been built. But regardless of that fact or that potential, the area has been built and has major stormwater control problems as it exists. So the detention basin right on Shea and the catch basins from Pepper all drain into this second kind of detention area that is behind the dead-end Shea Pepper Road extension area. And that area is maybe twice, maybe it's the same size as Shea, maybe it's twice as large, but that area has two 36-inch culverts that run under the kind of Alice Ave, Gloria, Shea Street neighborhood down to the back of the Shea Street extension. And these two 36-inch culverts are full 3/4 of the way with stagnant water as of 2 weeks ago. And not only that, the detention basin itself is full of sand and muck so that it's not flowing down to the No Town Reservoir like it's designed to. So we're talking about Leominster City Council last week was talking about water quality within the No Town Reservoir. And we currently are not able to, we don't have the maintenance funds or the capability to clean out this detention basin right now and handle the stormwater that we currently have. So, considering what power and control the Conservation Commission has, keep in consideration the amount of maintenance that we need to do currently and will need to do do in the future when all of this sediment is flowing down off of this hill into our existing catchment facilities. Thank you.
Thank you.
Erickson with his hand up virtually. We have Nick Erickson, Commissioner Erickson, with his hand up virtually.
Nick, Mr. Erickson, go ahead.
Thank you. I just wanted to clarify. Councilor Squalia gave a good summary of the system out there, but that discharge area at the end of the two 36-inch barrels is not intended to be a detention pond. That's actually intended to be a channel, and it forms the start of Shea Brook, which does flow down into No Town Reservoir. And the issue with that particular discharge channel from the two 36-inch culvert barrels is that the city doesn't have access to get down in there and actually maintain and scoop out those sediments. There's a private property owner at the end of Shea Street Extension, and there's actually the DCR property on the other side of the beginning of that channel. So it's tough for the city to get in there and actually scoop out that sediment and debris and reestablish flowing water. There's also a very shallow pitch from there all the way down to No Town Reservoir. It's about an inch difference in elevation over the course of about 1,000 feet. So it's very shallow. It does fill up with sediment regularly. We've had mosquito control, Central Mass Mosquito Control Project in to help us dredge the channel on 2 occasions. And I asked them for assistance with doing the same thing again to reestablish the flow of that stream from the discharge of those two 36-inch barrels all the way down to 5th Mass Turnpike. And they weren't willing to assist us again, just due to the complexity of securing temporary easements from the state to get in there and actually do the work. Now, that area is not to be confused with the actual detention swale that was designed as a detention swale, which is located along Shea Street on Oak Hill Country Club property. The city maintains a 1-acre easement for that detention basin, and that is flowing. The outlets are clear. There's minimal sediment buildup. Essentially, everything gets flushed out of that basin during really large storms, and it ends up being deposited in that channel downstream the two 36-inch culvert barrels. So I just wanted to clarify that, and hopefully that paints a clearer picture of the infrastructure that we do have out there. One other detail I wanted to add to, I just forgot. When we designed and permitted that detention swale on Shea Street, we had to go through extensive permitting with Mass DEP because we altered a wetland resource area that was tributary to a drinking water supply, which is No Town Reservoir. It's the City of Leominster's drinking water supply. And we actually had to perform wetland replication and a number of other things in there to satisfy Mass DEP, the City of Leominster, and the Fitchburg Conservation Commission. So I would expect that if this project ever does move forward, that the applicant would be held to the same standards that the City of Fitchburg was when we designed and constructed that flood control swale. Thank you.
Thanks. Thank you, Nick. Do we have anyone here who would like to speak? Go ahead.
My name is Pat Lawyer. I live at 473 Shea Street. The last time we were here, we had discussion about who would tend to these solar panels, say 20 years from now, if they started falling apart and degrading. Did we find out an answer to that question? Do you know?
No.
We don't have an answer to that
Well, it's
question.
a private company.
Right.
I would assume the owner.
The owner.
But the owner of the land is Oak Hill, but they're renting out this space to this solar panel company. So the solar panel company will be responsible if all of a sudden they determine solar's no good for our green environment. They would be responsible for removing those someday?
I don't know that the commission can answer that question, but Mr. Cleaves might be able to answer that.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, and also, Madam Chair, if I'd like to clarify, we're kind of getting outside of the scope of our jurisdiction. Conservation Commission is only responsible for the wetlands on the property. And that's what we're talking about tonight, is we had some questions about what they delineated as the wetland, and we've asked for a third-party review. but most of the other part of the site where the solar panels will be are not within our jurisdiction. So I just want to clarify that so that, I guess I'm trying to answer your question about when you say, do we know what's going to happen with the solar panels later on down the road? You know, that is not part of the scope of where we are. Okay? Thank you.
Anyone else would like to speak? If you don't feel comfortable speaking in public, you can submit an email to Herlin, and we'd be happy to respond to it in that manner. Please approach the. If you could state your name and address for the record, please.
Donna LeBlanc,
Into.
Donna LeBlanc, 369 Kathy Street. I was 5 minutes late. I apologize for that. So I did not happen to find out if there was a report submitted and what it said.
We haven't received the report yet. There was a request to continue the meeting
Oh, okay. So when will that be?
next month,
Next month?
the first Wednesday of next
October
month,
4th. October 4th.
October 4th.
October 4th. Okay. I do have other concerns in the same thing. I know the report is to say what about the wetlands and the water. I would just like to clarify, because of the loss of the trees, the extreme loss of animal and wildlife to the area with the trees gone, the contamination of the water supply, the climate control effects on the whole world without the oxygen and animals in this area. And I would like to say that's all the cons, and there's probably 20,000 more. And the pro side, from what I can see, is nothing but greed. Greed. That's all I have to say.
Thank you, Ms. LeBlanc. Do we have anyone else? Oh, hi. Come on up.
I just wanted to ask a question.
It's,
What did you, Christine Breton, 484 Shea Street.
Thank you.
What did you find out when you went through all this? You went through and did all the surveillance and all that up the Shea Street. I had never found out what happened when you guys went through it and walked through
I had to
it.
take my daughter to college.
I can address that.
You can sit down. I just wanted to know what happened. on that.
Okay.
Thank you, Chris.
So we went on a site walk that we looked at the wetlands area that had been marked. It is by procedure, they label with flags where the wetlands area are, and then they have to stay within a 100-foot buffer of that. And our site walk was going out to see what was marked as the wetland. And we had some question about whether or not this was far enough out, or this was too close, or whether or not the wetland was correctly flagged. And that's what came up tonight, that we requested a third-party review. The third party is another engineering company, not the engineer that does the plans for the solar, and not anyone that works for the city. It's an independent party that goes out and says, here is what the wetland is. Basically what they're doing is mapping out the wetlands for us. And then that'll tell us where our jurisdiction lies. And it's an independent contractor, not the property owner, not Oak Hill, not the solar company, and not the city, and not the Conservation Commission.
With the lack of trees that are going to cut down, it's all going to be wetlands. We're all going to be flooded.
Thank you. Is there anyone else that has something they'd like to add from the public, including anyone? Dr. Baker, go ahead.
I was reviewing the documents that were provided to us in the document center, and I looked at the stormwater management system design report that Haley Ward did for the proponent. And I thought this was an interesting section under the drainage narrative, section 1.2. It says, as a result of urbanization of an area, i.e. increase of impervious area, the time of concentration will be decreased since velocity of overland flow will be increased. As the time of concentration is decreased for a sub-watershed, the peak flow rate will be increased for that particular sub-watershed. So I think this is a clear indication that they're expecting that this project, as they laid it out, will actually make matters worse. Could you hear me?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ralph.
If I
Mr.
can
Cleaves?
comment,
Yes.
Anthony Cleaves, Haley Ward. I didn't do that drainage analysis specifically, but that is a standard summarization in the beginning of our reports. You have to read the whole report and then look at the design. Many times when you do work on a property, without mitigation measures, there would be an increase in the rate of runoff. As part of the design of the project, there are drainage mitigation measures that were proposed along Shea Street to offset any increases associated with that. So there are mitigation measures. You have to just continue on in that design to see the full extent of that. Thank you.
Thank you.
I have one question about the design.
Can you please come up to the... Thank you.
Ask you about the design that you're saying that has to go forward.
Ms. LeBlanc, yeah, we need to be able to hear you.
Okay, I have a question in his response to ask what the going forward means. Does that mean the barriers that Oak Hill's supposed to buy to put up to block the water? Because if so, that is not going to work. And that's just verifying that Oak Hill knows there is a problem, and that is not the answer to it.
Okay, thank you, Ms. LeBlanc. Was that, okay, thank you. Do we have anyone else? Attorney Kuchar?
One thing that I forgot to bring up the last time I was up here, and it just dawned on me. If Oak Hill is looking for a paycheck, which ultimately they are, they could go to Mass Wildlife, they can go to the Recreations Department and put up trails in there and keep the green spaces. That was one discussion that we had at the meeting with the Leominster folks. You know, so if Oak Hill is really just looking for a paycheck, try something else. There are many other options out there. In fact, the Mass Wildlife purchased quite a bit of property during the COVID-19 pandemic. And if this is something that Oak Hill wants to do, let's try to keep the natural space available to the public and allow them to get their paycheck just without cutting down the trees. Thank you.
Thank you. I think is there anyone else who'd like to speak? Thank you. Hearing none. We've heard from Dr. Baker. Any other members of the commission like to speak? Or can we have
Madam Chair, at the request of the applicant, a motion to continue the meeting till Wednesday, October 8, or whatever, next October meeting.
Second.
Okay, let's call the roll. Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarefield? Aye. Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Christian and Commissioner Helene are not in attendance this evening, so the motion passes, and we'll continue this until next month. Thank you for coming out tonight and taking the time to speak with us. We appreciate it. You're always welcome, although it's when I say if you come to too many meetings, we're going to put you on the commission. Thank you very much. Thank you. Good night.
Thank you. Good night.
And moving forward, let's see. Where I am. Okay, so that's done. Where's the rest
So
of
we're
it
going to
go?
do Ivor Johnson now?
Yeah, I'm just out of order here.
Yep.
Okay. Under Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 13, Section 40, the Conservation Commission will open the hearing for notice of intent, IVJ Group, LLC, Ivor Johnson Mills renovation, 91, 89, and 87 River Street.
Good evening, Anthony Cleaves, Haley Ward, representing Ivor Johnson Group and part of the project. We also have here tonight some of the partners of the Ivor Johnson Group, if you have any comments or questions for them.
Wonderful.
So this is our second meeting before the commission. We went over the project last time. We had a site walk since then. No new information or anything from that meeting, except that just in the last 15 minutes or so, we received a DEP file number, which we hadn't up until that point. There are some comments. We all just got them literally moments ago. If you want to go through any of those, happy to try and go through them with you. But we also understand that we're also going to be going to the planning board. We haven't had our first hearing with the planning board as of yet, and we're also going to the zoning board of appeals. So we do have other steps to go through too, but we always like the opportunity to take with the commission any comments, questions that we can address before next time. We'd appreciate that. So thank you very much.
Thank you. Let's open the floor for public comment. Would anyone like to speak in favor of or against this hearing, or would like to request more information? Please state your name and address for the record. Hearing none from the public, let's turn to the commission. Dr. Baker?
No, I don't have any comments right now.
Thank you.
Madam Chair, I think the only thing,
How did the site visit go?
the site visit was wonderful.
I was sorry I missed it.
Yeah, I mean, what they're planning on doing with these buildings, and the buildings are worth saving. The facades on both ends of the building are absolutely gorgeous. I think looking at Mass DEP's comments, it really is dealing almost all with stormwater management and the floodplain. So, Mr. Erickson and Mr. Hillman, we will forward these comments on to you for your review and comment at the next meeting. But I thought, those buildings have been sitting empty for years. It's going to be nice to see them redeveloped. Mike was there. Is there any comment?
No, I think I'm glad to see that they took the conservation first in their pursuit of the project.
Thank you. Yeah, that's.
Joyce was spot on the site walk. The outflow was a question mark that we had, and excuse me, floodplain. And those are the two issues.
And that's still the comments that came back from Mass DEP. So we'll forward those on to engineering, and if they have any comments, they'll be in touch with you also.
I had a question. Was this mill complex, was it hydroelectric powered? Some of them that come in, they ran them off of the water. But I just wondered if you guys had
I don't recall.
It's from a historical.
I don't believe there was a dam right there.
Yeah, they're not close enough to the
downstream,
water.
I think there may have been.
Okay.
But I don't.
Yeah, there was a hydro-powered elevator.
Oh, was it? Okay.
So maybe I think they also had oil burners and running the machinery out of steam power.
So there's probably some sluice gate or sluice pipe going into the building and out of the building? You haven't found it yet?
No.
Okay.
Good luck with that.
We're going to find a lot of treasures, I'm sure, as we hopefully start construction.
Well, they did when they did when they rebuilt that mill complex behind the Dairy Queen. Remember that one? They did. That was really successful. It's beautiful.
Yeah.
I mean, it's right up there. Yeah, it's beautiful.
What was I going to say? Regarding this particular project and the last one as well, the engineers are challenged to deal with two very isolated. It's here at this particular project, and the other project. It's in the engineers' hands to deal with the numbers and deal with the offload, et cetera, and let them figure it out. Come back and present their case, and I'm sure Anthony will do that here on H&R.
Do we have a motion to continue?
Motion to continue.
Second.
Anthony, are you all set with that? We'll still talk about it next month.
Yeah, no, that's fine. Like I said, a lot of these comments, I think,
We haven't had a chance. I haven't.
somewhat
we need to-
administrative. I think it's providing some numbers. Appreciate if Nick and his team look at that, and then if again, I know we've always worked well with the city of Fitchburg. If at any point, if it's okay, if Nick and his team has any questions that we can work together before the next meeting. If that's okay, we'd appreciate that. And I'm happy to try and work with them to go through any review or comments they have, if that's okay.
Okay, so motion to continue to, Herlin, it's October 4th?
October 4th.
The October 4th meeting?
Second.
Okay, let's call the roll. Commissioner Baker,
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly,
Aye.
Commissioner Satterfield, aye. Commissioner Jacobs.
Aye.
Motion passes.
I didn't mean to interfere with an employment prospect on the site visit. It appears that you've got a workforce down there. You could cultivate it. You start with one, and
Was a homeless gentleman.
be all set.
It's a lovely place.
Thank you very much for your time. Appreciate
Lovely
it.
place.
Thank you very much.
Okay, do we have the request for determination of applicability, Monty Tech Satellite School? Are they here?
They are not here. Mr. Nick Dewhurst requested a continuance via email, so we,
Continue. Can we have a,
if we can
Well,
open the
we
hearing
didn't
and then continue
Open a
it?
hearing, so do we have to vote to continue it, or just?
I haven't opened it. I mean,
Right.
this one isn't really a hearing. An RDA is not really a hearing.
Correct.
I generally open them. I mean, this is not for now, but
They want to continue.
Did they request a continuance?
They requested a
Well,
continuance.
they give what they want, but pretty,
Okay.
so, okay.
motion to continue.
Second?
Okay, there's a motion on the table to continue the notice of intent, or the request for determination of applicability for Monty Tech Satellite School.
We-
All in favor? I'm going to call the roll. Dr. Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Satterfield, aye. Motion passes. We'll continue that to the October meeting.
We had a brief discussion on motion to continue on the Shea Street solar panel. We had some discussion in spite of that applicant's request. No discussion here. Does anybody see any red flags on Wachusett's RDA?
No. Nick? Nick's got his hand up.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to mention that I met with this group from Monty Tech and their engineer and et cetera this morning, just to kind of go over what they're proposing. There's some planning board issues that they'll need to work out. I didn't see anything as part of the project that would necessarily trigger a Conservation Commission review. I mean, I think the issue is they're right across the street from the river, and they're within the 200-foot riverfront riparian buffer. So I think that's kind of what they're looking at getting an answer on, is whether their proposed project is causing any impact to the resource area. And in my opinion, the answer is no. Just wanted to offer that up for whatever it's worth.
Thanks, Nick.
Nick, can we count on you to handle stormwater management on that parking lot?
So yes and no. I don't think they're doing anything to the parking lot aside from closing up curb cuts to match the zoning ordinance and all that. There's a catch basin on site on the loading dock side. There's some drainage from the street that the city needs to work on. But they're not adding any impervious area. They're not subtracting any impervious area. They're really not doing anything outside of the building other than closing up curb cuts because we're asking them to. On the inside of the building, they'll go to town on that and do a whole bunch of work there. But based on the mass stormwater standards that apply to redevelopments, they're only required to do what they can to the maximum extent practicable. In this case, since not doing any work in the parking lot other than closing up curb cuts, I don't know if it really makes sense to ask them to do anything as far as stormwater treatment goes.
The
site's going to
take that to
function
mean
as
you've got it under control, Nick, that's all.
All right, but I had questions that I would like to have had addressed. In their narrative, they talk about that the existing building will be used as vocational workshops and classroom for Monty Tech Technical School. I'd like to know what kind of classrooms. I mean, I had heard at some point auto body was going up there. So if that's the case, where is there going to be paint storage? How are they going to access the building to put auto body in there? Or even if it's other shops, where are they storing wood chemicals or stain or whatever? So there are still things that I have questions that I would like to have addressed.
Do you have any comments on this, Mr. Donnelly?
Largely inside, they're required by a host of other regulations to store them inside. And I suppose that that's a legitimate question in terms of outside storage of solvents and
If that's what it's going to be used for, they're very vague as how they described what they were going to do with the building. So I would still like to have them come before us to explain what are they going to do with the building. Nick, does that make sense?
Yeah, no, that's a very fair request. I'm told that it's going to be a carpentry workshop, and the gentleman that contacted me is actually their lead carpentry teacher, instructor. I'm not sure his exact title. So I think that's going to be their primary focus. But you make a good point with like wood stains and varnishes, et cetera. I assume that Mr. Donnelly's correct and that stuff will be stored inside, but it certainly does not hurt to ask and get further detail.
The chair wants to acknowledge that Mr. Donnelly was a former industrial technology teacher for decades, and that's why I would trust his judgment on this, but it certainly is something we need to...
Oh, interesting. Joyce brings up a legitimate point. They closed their automotive satellite school at Montour's, and so begs the question, are they going to replicate it elsewhere?
And if so,
Callahan Construction owned that building,
Right.
And so that was perhaps set up to some degree for off-site structure development and rainy weather. Or they got a big space in there that they could use. Yeah.
I still feel that we need to have a further explanation of what the building is going to be used for, so I'd like to continue that.
That's what we've done.
Whether or not they're going to, there's not in the plans any garage door or any entry. Even if it's woodworking, how are they going to get materials in and out of the shop?
Well, they closed it, you know that.
I know, they
closed it.
they bricked up the door.
I think while we're continuing the meeting, that question probably ought to be posed to them between now and then. If I could give Herlin a task to let them know that came up, and they'll be challenged to answer that at the continued meeting.
Sure. The public hearing was never open, but
No, it wasn't.
I will let them know.
I did open it. Did I forget to?
No,
open
we
it?
didn't.
No, you can tell me this.
It's okay.
I've been working since 7 o'clock.
Do we have a motion to continue?
We already did the
We already
motion.
did
They
that.
did it and passed.
Okay.
So moving on. Let's get to our other business
Okay.
and some updates. First one is Emmanuel Lutheran Church, Lot 3 plan.
Harlan, we haven't heard anything on that as far as Matt Morrow was going to do delineation of the wetlands and take a look at whether or not there was existing wetlands on that property, but we haven't heard anything.
I have not heard anything.
Okay, so that lot development could be on hold.
Okay.
Who's in a hurry?
I know. Harlan, can we just check with the building department and make sure that they haven't applied for a building permit yet? And kind of skipped that?
They can apply.
They can apply, but they need to make sure that we're included. Okay.
Mad River Solar Site?
I don't see anybody here.
There's nobody here, and Tim Smith isn't here either, but we did receive an update from them. They were issued a violation with a fee, and they paid. And they also had somebody go out and remediate this resource area, and Tim said he was satisfied with what they were doing, but I never got a report from Tim.
Okay, we'll check in with Tim about that report. Just send him an email and remind him about it. He got deployed on a couple of storms we had recently.
Yes.
So
We're prepared to respond to Tim's report. Okay?
For Mad River Solar, $900. Yes. Yes.
Well, no, that was just for,
3 violations at $300 per
violations,
violation.
Yeah.
$300 apiece.
There were violations
Three
issued.
violations.
Those were the violations when they went out to inspect what had been done. There were violations found, so that's what that was about.
Yeah, we have a limit of $300 per violation. It is. Yeah, unfortunately, that comes from the state. That's what we get. I know. We were lucky enough that there was 3 violations and we could find them 3 times.
Okay. You're welcome. Good night. Battle Street?
Battle Street.
We heard from them?
No, well, I was out there on Monday.
How is it?
Couple of things. So I looked at Ridemore, and I have to tell you, it looks wonderful. All right, on the Battle Street side, they have taken out all the fill that we requested. It's all seeded. It's growing quite well. They've blocked off the entranceway so that nobody can pull in there. There's no turning around in there anymore. It's all been fixed. On the opposite side, on the actual Ridemore side, they've moved the bin blocks back because we asked them to take that off the top banking. Now, I did not go on their property on their side, but it appears that there's loam and grass growing there too. Went up on the upper side, the fence along the brook first of all, the brook's been cleaned. It's wonderful. There is not any trash in the brook, and the fence is up, and it's gorgeous. So now I understand that. Well, let's stick with Ridemore. Herlin got a request from Ridemore that they're looking for a certificate of compliance, but we need to pull the order of conditions and see if they're in the Wetlands Act. There's a 3-year time frame for growth, but so we're not ready to produce that yet. And I would like to go with either one of the engineers from McCarty or Tim Pomeroy and look actually at the Ridemore side, see how far they pulled the bin blocks back, and just to make sure that that's in compliance with what they were instructed to do, because we gave them a certain footage that they had to be back from.
Yeah, wonderful.
Okay, so we'll still follow up on that going forward. Now, Battle Street also includes Leominster DPW. Down at the corner where they did the water line. That's a mess. It's still a mess.
They haven't fixed it.
They haven't fixed it. And I know they had talked about they would fix it in the fall, but there is almost no fix in this. I mean, it's all rock. It's rocky outcropping. There is a little bit of grass that grew up from there. But in order to now disrupt all of that to plant more grass where they were supposed to put it in the first place, it's just going to disrupt the brook bank more than if we leave it the way it is.
But we were just told that the city of Leominster is concerned
about their water quality. I mean, this doesn't it feeds the river, but
still.
That's a battle zone down there, the idea of leaving it like that. I don't think we can be shy about going into wetlands and restoring them on the chance that it may do more harm than good.
Well, and that's fine if we decide that our recommendation is, and because they're well aware, the DPW head of Leominster said when we brought this up in the spring, Mike O'Hara talked to them, and we were coming into the summer season, and said if we plant now, it's not going to grow. So in the fall, we'll work on that. So if it is what we want them to do, then we'll just have to make contact with them and tell them they need to fix it, because they're well aware of it. But it's a lot of fixing, and I don't know if they are going to have to come in and tell us how they're going to fix it.
First of all, I have 2 questions on that. Is it that our jurisdiction, the city of Leominster?
But that's ours.
Okay, so if it's ours, it's within our jurisdiction. Let's do our job and treat them like any other violator.
Okay.
Let's go through that motion, because if the camera didn't work, then you get out the step. And secondly, with regard to planting and timing, a farmer who makes his livelihood plants every single year on the chance that Mother Nature will cooperate and his produce will grow. So at any time, you can plant and pray that Mother Nature cooperates and allows whatever it is. There are better times to plant than others, but there's no time like now, because the sooner you get it in the ground. I'll address that certificate of compliance and growing seasons at the conclusion of our meeting or under other business. Not at this time, no.
Okay.
But it's typical, there was not a lot of effort by Leominster DPW and their contractor put into this to begin with, because when we were there previously in the fall and in the spring, you know, a handful of grass seeds and a few little sprouts came up, and that's what they considered lumen seed at the end of their project.
Well,
It's
you know,
disgraceful.
unless they stop Battle Street Wash, all of their work is for naught.
Well,
They
true.
really have to control what's coming off of Battle Street to control what's going to happen in their reclamation or remediation.
Okay. That's the update on those.
Okay, that's great. The Wallace Civic Center they requested a continuance.
Yes, the colleagues at MMC could not be here tonight, but they did note that the requested berm has been installed, and the company has changed the icing painting process and products and procedures as requested by the commission. They just couldn't be here tonight. So they would like a
So
continuance
the
to the
berm is in
October.
place, so if we pop by, we'll see that?
Yes.
Oh, good.
We can schedule a site visit at the convenience of the commission.
That's great.
Okay.
All right. Moving forward, violations and enforcement orders, 691 Mount Elam Road, update.
There is no update. A violation was sent last month with a fee, and I have not heard back from the homeowner.
So in that case, I would recommend that we issue them another violation notice and inform them that until they respond, we're going to continue issuing violation notices with a $300 fine.
If that's a motion, I certainly second it, but remind the commission that 90 to 120 days ago, they will hear, and we failed to send them away with explicit instruction.
Well, no, I disagree with that, because the instruction was Tim was going to go out there and take a look at the property, which Tim did, but Tim's request was that they were supposed to delineate the wetlands so that there could be a determination of what he may have filled or what he may have done, and he's refusing to do that.
Did Tim recommend that to the applicant that night to delineate the wetlands?
No, at the
Okay.
site visit.
At the site visit, sorry. When that applicant was in front of us, could have, should have been told, and was, to delineate the wetlands, so that Tim, I specifically said, get performance out of him while we have him, and that performance was hire an individual to delineate the wetlands that night.
Well, so then if that's on record, then we told him that he should do it, and Tim was just reinforcing that when he was on the site visit.
I went through the chair, I didn't go to the applicant, it didn't go anywhere. It was put aside and said, Tim will go out and visit it. Well, first things first. He goes out to determine whether the delineation is correct or not to delineate. So he could have had marching orders that night to delineate the wetlands. We had him on site. We don't have him now. That's all.
Okay, well, so with that being said, where we are now is where we are now. We should issue another violation notice and a fine, and that is a motion.
And I second that.
Okay, let's call the roll. All in favor, Dr. Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield, aye. So the motion passes.
The
Yes.
Okay.
The commission should consider at what point in time we go to housing court for judgment on that and any other. How long do we wait before the next shoe falls?
Okay.
170 Arnhow Farm Road, update?
Same as the last applicant, a violation notice was sent with a $300 fine, and I have not heard back from the homeowner.
Helen, did you get a card back that they accepted the registered mail?
No, not from her.
So did you get the registered mail back?
No, nothing.
So I wonder why the post office, since they can't deliver it, doesn't send it back.
I don't know what the time period is for the wait, but I know that if they can't deliver it, they hold it and have they send the person a pink slip to come pick it up, and then they have I think 30 days to pick it up.
Oh,
so we might
okay.
still be in that time frame.
Yeah, which we are.
Okay, we'll check out. We'll check back in.
All right, so at this point,
Want to issue another?
we should issue, now, I think we should change the notice on Arnhow Farm a bit. We issue a new violation notice with a $300 fine and advise them that we will be issuing a $300 fine per day, since that property has wetlands that have been filled, and that is the biggest no-no. That's a new violation every day that fill remains in place. So legally, we have the option to issue a $300 fine every day.
Second that motion.
Yeah. Do you want
Let's call the roll. Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Sarfield? Aye.
Helen, the processing of that is we may send her out a notice once a week
Okay.
because, every day, when we'll just detail out, this is a notice, a violation, and a fine that represents these days, this time period, and that $300 is every day.
Okay. There is a cost to the registered mail. I just wanted to, where the scale balance.
But if we don't do this, this is part of the
Correct.
process for legal action that we
Yes.
may take later. Yeah. And then if there is no response, here's to Commissioner Donnelly's question. If there is no response, again, by the time we meet in October, then we will be talking about, getting the city solicitor involved in taking this property owner to court.
We don't even need them, but we'll talk.
Well, we
talk
have to have
about
representation.
appropriate action.
Yeah, okay. Okay.
All right, now we're going to certificates of compliance. This is, yes.
I didn't say anything.
Oh, I thought you, I'm sorry. Were you here for something, sir? What can we do for you? What are you here for?
Fifth Mass Pike.
Oh, okay.
Fifth Mass.
Oh, okay. Oh, well, that's good timing. Were you watching us from the car?
No, I'll see you informed.
Oh, okay. Okay, so 155-692 Fifth Mass Turnpike. Mr. Senni?
Herlin, you recommended, you suggested that 7 would be a good time, that we'd be, not for him, never mind him, us. You thought we would be here at this stage at 7 o'clock.
I won't take credit for that. I think he spook to Chantel Fleck, our principal.
I think he's been watching TV, number one, but if you
Watching
did
us from the
that,
car.
you are good.
I'm not.
Yes, keep it up. Right. Mr. Senni, let's see, we had the comments from, let's see, this one, okay, was this related? This one doesn't say, I'm assuming this was Fifth Mass Turnpike, but what do you have?
I'm not sure, but this is from, in most cases, from Building Commissioner Barbadero.
Okay, that was my other question, if it's true.
But one from the applicant and one from the building department.
Yeah, and the
Those are
dates
our
on them were
observations.
different, so, yeah, the dates were different on
Right.
those.
Yeah.
So,
The applicant did reply via email with some answers to those questions, but only on September 1st.
Okay.
Just as a heads up.
okay.
And this, your comment was in reference to the site visit with Tim Smith. Correct. Your comment sheet here.
No, it's dated the 27th.
And our site visit was after that.
Yeah, this is dated Thursday, July 27.
The site visit was not through conservation. It was planning board and the building commissioner. And the building commissioner identified some issues that would be probably relevant to the conservation.
That's what we had when we went on site in August. We had the planning boards, planning department, the building inspectors.
building
We had
department's
his
comments.
comments only, and I shared with the applicant that we had more questions than answers on that site visit for lack of a plan, project plan.
Do you want to speak to these comments?
Yeah,
these questions?
just to add to that, we were there on August 12th. Michael and I.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
All right. So I think since this was what we had in time, we have to, everything has to be in 7 days before the meeting. So we'll just work on this comments from the 8th. Do you want to answer to those, Mr. Sunny? Are you aware of these comments?
From Commissioner Barbadaro? Yeah, everything is done.
So the retaining wall is not in the non-disturb zone?
No.
Was it moved? Did you?
No,
move?
we measured off of that, off the flags that were on the site.
The retaining wall was on the original plans, and it is in the no disturb zone, but that was approved in the original plan.
Okay.
In that case, yeah.
Okay, that's good.
And then we also had, I'm sure it was already forwarded to you from Commissioner Barbadaro, the rain garden calculations. The engineer came out, surveyed everything, and gave you all the information. That's all been forwarded through email to everybody.
So while we're on the rain garden, what is with, well, two questions. The plantings that are in the rain garden, because they were substantially, what was there was not
Died.
healthy. Yeah.
Yeah, they died because they were, so all that rain that we had seeded everything prior to, all that heavy rain that we had, that 100-year kind of event this spring. And, 500-year event. The bottom of the rain garden just kept continuing to have water in it for the space of a month. So it just didn't, stuff germinated and then died.
So
we're going
what's
to
the status of that now?
So that'll get replanted.
Will get replanted.
if I may. Steve, this is what you wrote on your comments. This is your sheet. It said the rain garden, the area will be reseeded in the coming weeks as the weather permits.
Correct.
Further down, erosion at the shoulder of the road entrance to the site will be reseeded. Further down, we will be removing the silt layer and reseeding the area by the wetland replication.
Correct.
The upland area was seeded and coverage is very close to 75%. So each of your comments said, will be done, will be done, will be done.
Yeah,
I think that's what we saw. So
Correct.
that's the only thing we have in our mind.
Yeah, there's the three items that are still, and we want to call them not completed, would be the seeding at the bottom of the rain garden, that area, the flat area of the rain garden, the area that's in the city right away that got blown out because the culvert on the street clogged up and overflowed the road. So we get about a yard of material that we have to put in there. And then, like I talked to Tim Smith on one of his site visits over there, we're going to be doing additional planting in the wetland area. We used the wrong seed mix. We used a conservation mix, didn't know that it was not the right stuff. Tim explained that to us, so we're going to use a wetland seed mix, and we've actually found a place in South Hadley that does wetland plantings, so we're going to use some plants as well.
But to your point, and to Mr. Sene's comments, it's we will, and a certificate of compliance will not be issued until it's all established.
Correct. That's why I applied for a partial probably a month or so ago.
So I came to the commission. I thought that you and Tim had spoken about one solution. I came to the commission after speaking with you about a second solution. The commission said, we want to see Steve here this month. Here we are. The request for the certificate of completion is no closer to being issued, given that these things are still outstanding, right?
And how do we issue a partial, which unit, which part of the order of condition? I mean, it's all encompassed. It's not like it's a particular house. But I also still do have another question that I'd like to go back to. As noted in Mr. Smith's visit, the 480-foot wetland replication area in the southwest corner has not been established at all. That needs to be entirely redone.
Correct, and that was the same thing as a rain garden. We had so much water that was in there that stuff didn't take. So we have to take care of that. That's on our list there.
Now, what was not in the original plans that we saw on the site visit is the propane tanks that are under the rain garden. And I don't know how that impacts all of
So that was addressed a few weeks ago in our letter from the engineer that we forwarded to everybody via email. We have an engineer's letter that he went out and did all the calculations like the building commissioner wanted, and they said it works. It's actually better than, we have more capacity than was designed.
But did we approve putting propane tanks in the detention pond? Is that what it was?
And that's why the commissioner wanted us to do the calculations to make sure that it would hold the correct volume of water.
I mean, did we approve the propane tanks in the wetland area? I mean, that part we didn't.
It's not a wetland area, though.
It's the retention basin?
Rain garden.
The rain garden.
Which is the detention basin, because it's the flow from all of the parking lots that goes there. So the other thing is that, again, if there was a change in the plans, because that was not the way it was brought to us, those plans, you were supposed to come back and modify the plans that were submitted, because on either side, the other side, it's not so as, it's the one on the other side, all of that still would be in the no disturb area, where the second set, when you're going in, it's the tanks on the right are in the no disturb area.
No, they're not actually. They're in the lawn area.
But I would still like to see, it's very close. On the plans that we have, here's the rain garden here, and then this is where the second set of tanks are here. How close are they to the no disturb? There's just a lot of questions, Mr. Sene, as far as...
If I can, would you like me to just kind of go up there and just see what you're looking at?
Sure, you can. This is the original plan that was submitted. Yep.
Does the, the
rain garden, so we know that under there. But on this side, that's okay. There's the driveway and the other tanks.
Oh, right there. Two here, two there. That's where they're right there.
Okay. So we could verify that.
Mr. Sene, have you started the wetland replication?
No, because I really didn't know exactly what the board was looking for, so I wanted to make sure I came here and talked to you and found out exactly what needed to be done, and then have a very clear plan on that and get it done for you.
A replication area is so many square feet?
It's on the plan.
It's in the original. It has to be in the original plan.
It's square footage, it's elevation, it's wetland mix, and then hurry up and wait. Well, I mean, he's looking for an answer, that's my answer.
In your plan. Yeah, it's in the plan.
So, also, what about the debris that was over the bankings on both?
All taken care of. Emails and pictures were sent out to everybody.
All right.
On that as well.
I'll take a ride back up there and take a look.
Yep,
again
absolutely.
Also.
Yeah, those pictures that was done, I'd say a couple, 2-3 weeks ago. We sent out emails to, the building commissioner and everybody on that
The
as well.
building commissioner had brought it, so we didn't get them, but the building commissioner did. Okay.
I'm pretty sure I think we included all three, both the building commissioner, planning, and conservation on all those emails. So we had pictures that we sent out. Actually, we had pictures of the dumpster that had a tire in it, just to show that we took the tire from where it was and we put it in the dumpster, that kind of stuff. Just so that there was a...
So, Madam Chair, I don't know that I am, we can have discussion, but I would not be prepared to issue even a partial at this point until we
The
get out
wetland
there.
replication hasn't even been started.
Again,
Oh, no, actually, it has been started. We've got, everything is set up. Our elevations are correct. Our areas are done. We just have to actually do the physical planting. Like I said a few minutes ago, we used the wrong seed mix. We used a conservation mix, which we thought was the right thing. Tim Smith explained that to me. We had a great conversation about it. And we now found the right place to get the right seed and the right plants.
So
That was the rain garden, though.
Yeah, what you're
That's
talking
what-
about,
that
the
was
rain
the
garden?
rain garden.
Or the wetland replication? There's a rain
So
garden here.
The
and
rain
this-
garden isn't a wetland by, it's not a wetland.
We're
it's a-
talking about your wetland replication area.
Correct.
which is
Yes.
here.
No,
Two separate things.
Either or. He
Right.
was speaking
And
to
the
the
rain
wetlands
garden is up
replication,
here.
and then somebody brought in rain garden. Herlin, no,
Okay.
but
Correct.
the wetlands replication, different animal. Southwest corner, so many square feet, you have that elevation, you have that. He has a wetland mix, you have that. Okay, what is the Conservation Commission looking for more than what he has in place, ready to put in? What are we looking for?
Well, I'd see it planted.
Okay, fine. So you can plant it as planned, and then we're going to hurry up and wait. He's looking for that answer. If that's a correct answer, affirm what I said. Okay. Now rain garden. The rain garden's not a wetland. It's going to hold runoff from the parking lot. My only question about the rain garden, I recognize that it filled with silt. My rationale for everything dying was, particularly the trees, is they get choked. They got soil up to here, from that event. That's, get it, no problem. So my only question about them was, they were designed with an elevation in mind to hold X amount of water, so they had a storage capacity. And then the tanks went in. Did the tanks displace any storage?
No. And we have our engineer's certification that was emailed out to everybody.
Fine.
On that.
I'm happy with that rain garden explanation. And the truth be known, some of the vegetation that went into the rain garden, that might displace, when it's mature, that might displace storage capacity. You have river birch in there. They get big.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
there
but
were
the,
also, go ahead, Ralph.
Michael and everyone, the report that Mr. Saini is referring to says that there's actually far more capacity in that rain garden than it originally was intended to have. But I should also make a correction on that August 12th site visit. Commissioner Jacobs was with us as well.
And on that site visit, Ralph, I know you walk down the bank, and in the back, there's a PVC pipe that is coming out the bank and out in the back, and one, as you're looking from the houses out to the street, there's another PVC drain pipe. The only one that I see that was on the original plans should have just led to the riprap from the rain garden.
And that's.
But this seems to be on its own out in the banking, which then deposits into the brook and the wetlands.
So the green pipe that's in question, we cut that back, we put our stone around it, and we finished it up, and pictures were sent out a couple of weeks ago.
All right, but these were white. They were like 4-inch white pipe. I don't know if that, do you have perimeter drains, and where are the perimeter drains going?
Nope.
So, I mean, we could show them to you or see what we saw when we were out there.
Yeah, I took all the pictures from, I think the commissioner sent pictures over, and we took care of everything on those things.
I'm not prepared to move forward at this point. I don't
And
know.
I can, if I
I
can.
don't think he wants to leave
Okay.
with a certificate. He wants marching orders. He wants
I have
marching
a question about this number 5, 4-inch pipe out leading at the rear of the property near the stream. This 4-inch pipe, is this active?
That's the discharge or the subdrain for the rain garden, which is on the plan.
Oh, okay.
But that's at the rear of the property. This is, that
Oh, that's on the-
comment was...
It's on the, off the parking lot.
Easterly side.
Yeah, but in the, it says 4-inch pipe out leading at the rear of the property near the stream. Ralph, that's the one that you saw on the bank and on the back side, correct? That's what I'm saying. There are 2 pipes that we can't account for. One that could be the one from the rain garden, one
Oh, it is.
that
That
is
is-
at the
the
end of
green
the
one is the one from the
parking
rain garden.
space. This is white. There's a PVC pipe there, and there's one at the rear of the property that is noted in Commissioner Barbadero's email that is also near the stream and flowing off the backside of the property.
Yeah, my question is just what's coming out of that pipe.
I'm not sure exactly what we're talking about.
It just says here, 4-inch pipe out leading at the rear of the property near the stream. That was.
Mr. Sene,
took
I
care of
can
the
show
one-
you where we saw the 2 pipes, just again, the same thing.
Yeah, please approach.
So, one approximately was here at the end of the pavement, coming off here, but that's beyond the riprap end.
Yeah,
because that-
that's a subdrain for the rain garden, which is on your plan. And then this one here, that's all flat ground back here. There's nothing there.
That's not flat, that was pretty steep back there.
You know, this new line is steep, but you've got a line in the middle of.
All right, but I mean, it was off the back, so if it was in this area where it gets kind of steep back there.
Yeah, we can go back there with somebody, we can look for that, but I know there's no pipes out there. So I don't know what,
Well, I'm
unless it was by chance it could be something, it was a cutoff from something that.
Yeah, no, that's
Okay.
why, I mean, we've seen that before in these old mills where stuff's draining out of them still.
well, this is new construction.
Oh, I thought this was, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Well,
All right, so are we in agreement that the wetland needs to be replanted, and we need to verify that, but we're not going to know whether or not that takes until spring now?
I'm going to address that at the conclusion of our meeting.
okay.
Okay? And we need to address some of the other pipes. Well, is there a time when you're up at the site still at all, or your contractors up there, or?
Well, we're done, so I will make myself available anytime the commission needs me to, like we always have. So anytime you need
I
something.
honestly think we could schedule a regular full site walk. I know that some of us have been there already, but let's take a look at what Mr. Sene has cleaned up and see how it's changed. Ralph, do you agree, so we can see how it's changed from what we saw when we were there in the middle of August?
Could we drag our feet until he does do the work on the replication area?
chance.
You'll get the replication area done, and then we'll go? When will that be?
I'd rather not give you a time, than if I don't make it. then-
Within
but
30 days?
My guess is within this month, it'll be done.
Okay, so then
That's-
we can do a site walk following that and address it 30 days from now.
Okay.
If I
Well,
open up another.
Ball's
can.
in your court. I mean,
So we do have a closing scheduled on unit number 557, and we're waiting on the occupancy for it. If I can I make a suggestion to the board on
Certainly.
how to?
you've closed on one, have you not?
We've
Sorry,
closed on 3
Okay.
of the units.
All right.
And we have one that's been scheduled for, I know, we've been working on this with you guys for almost 2 months now, so we've got the last unit scheduled to close for the 15th or 16th of this month. Can I make a suggestion to the board that may help with my situation and with yours?
Well, let's hear what that is. And
So if it would make sense to the board, I would have no problem putting money in escrow until these remaining 3 items are done, and issue occupancy on the last unit, and the board has money to hold my feet to the fire.
I'm not comfortable with that because I don't want to have the board take on the responsibility of doing the wetlands and fixing the rain garden and addressing the pipes. That is what you're supposed to be doing.
Excuse me. When I said you closed on 3, but you can't close on the 4th, is that the case? Because of an outstanding?
Correct, because of,
No, so there's a condition on the 3rd closing or the 4th closing, they won't close without. But you closed on 3
correct.
without.
Commissioner, the building commissioner will not issue occupancy until you guys.
Oh, they're closed but not occupied. Did the
No.
building commissioner issue occupancy on
Yes,
3?
correct, he
How
did.
can that be? How can that be that, number one, you closed on 3, you got occupancy on 3, and a 4th is a problem?
Because he wanted to make sure these things were taken care of, and I addressed things with you.
But that's what I don't understand.
No,
How
you
did
got
the
3 out of
deeds-
4, and the 4th is a problem. Why weren't the first 3 a problem? Either with building or with you and the client, you and the purchaser.
No problem with us and the purchaser or anything else.
All right.
But I guess I don't understand, because right now it's all one deed where the 4 units, it's 3 separate deeds?
4 separate unit deeds.
And the order of condition is on,
1 unit?
yeah, it's at 0
I'm
Fifth
not
Mass
gonna
Turnpike,
pretend to play attorney.
which is the master deed. How did it get divvied up into 4 deeds?
I don't have that answer. I brought it to the commission 30 days ago or whatever about holding out money, and it didn't fly then, and
If I,
Yes.
once again, if I could kind of make the suggestion, even if we went and did all the planting tomorrow, if we don't have 75% establishment, you're not allowed to issue a certificate of full completion.
Right.
So that's the reason, and I'm gonna step all over myself here, but the reason for a partial completion is that work is partially complete. I don't think it's necessary to ask for either one of those. I would kind of respect your position that a certificate of full compliance is what everybody would want. So if we have to do planting, and that could take, once it's a couple months goes by, I talked to Tim Smith, and he thought maybe if we did our planting in a month or so, some representative could go out there, verify that the planting was done, that we had good coverage, and if that was the case, we request issue of full compliance. If not, we have up to 2 years, I believe it's up to 2 years for 75% coverage. I think there's some time frame on that. So even if we did everything tomorrow, we may not have the 75% coverage, which would allow you to issue full compliance even at that point. So the reason for a financial holdback is that there's money on the table to do $1,000 worth of planting. Pick a number, and it's held in escrow until everybody's satisfied, until the commission is satisfied. And then it's the best of both worlds. The commission has, my feet held to the fire, and we're allowed to conduct business.
We did something similar on Westminster, was it Westminster Hill Road?
to your concern and to your explanation, when any one of these conditions that we issue across the board, when we require a growing season or 2 growing seasons, do we issue certificates of completion? Do we hold certificates of completion back? Because nobody can meet a 2 or a 3-year growing season and get a certificate. But we give them all the time. He's asking for the same thing, but he's putting money up, and we've never.
No, we had them put up a bond.
Okay, then we've done it before, okay? Then, and I'm not...
At the start of a project or at the end of a project? At the start of a
No,
project?
it was Westminster Hill Road.
Nobody can meet 2 or 3 growing seasons.
Yeah, no, I
Right,
mean,
because it's going to tie up that deed. And that's the other thing that I don't understand that I would like to do some research on, is how do we...
I got it.
How do we issue the partial on... And when we've done a partial before, it's been a development that has multiple houses, okay? And so in that development, that one selected house was issued a partial because that was completed. This is a little bit different in the fact that it's just 4 units, and I suppose the partial is just certain items of the order of condition, and it goes to the master deed, but now there's 4 new deeds for the property.
In the next 30 days, if he does everything we ask him tonight, particularly replication, he still can't be complete because the growing seasons
Right.
are going to come. That's the case with everybody that comes in here. So he asked, give him a number that would satisfy you. And if no number will satisfy you, say no, none.
Yeah, no, none. Because I don't want the commission to be responsible for having to go out and complete a replication area or a rain garden or a drainage pipe after. We don't have the time or the effort to do that.
What is a bond?
That is the responsibility of the project.
What is a bond?
Yeah, I mean.
What is a bond?
I understand that.
Pick up where
but-
he doesn't perform.
Correct. And we've
Issue
done that.
issue this as a bond, if you will.
Which we already have with the city for street work. It's very, very similar.
Yeah. I think at some point, we had Nick come up with the number for us of what would be acceptable. That's what we did on Westminster Hill Road. Was that it, Westminster Hill Road? I can't remember. It's been a long day. Hamilton.
Anybody, we put, on a big project, we put bonds on. And
And-
that's to cover.
Yes.
And, I mean, the reality of it is, I do concede that there's some stuff that's not finished here, and we've addressed that with everything we've done. So there's, but there is substantial completion with the project, with the order of conditions. Substantial completion is there. You know, other than we have 400 square feet, the area of this area right here, that we have to do more planting in.
All right, so let me offer this then. If it's acceptable, let's continue this until the October meeting. And in good faith, that gives you an opportunity to fix the rain garden, do the planting, so that we see that that stuff is being done, that we'll go out and see that the, site has been cleaned up, literally, that we will see it, and then come back again in October and talk about a partial. I just don't think that we're far enough along to go down that road today. Mr. Sene?
We have a closing coming up in 2 weeks. We've been working on this for 2 months with you guys. Respectfully, coming back in a month, we lose a sale in this economy, in this market, that is, it's a bit extreme. It's a bit extreme.
Steve, because you said it's been a 2-month process, I went to bat for you 60 days ago or 30 days ago, whatever it was. But when I got the building department's shortcoming list, I said, you're not ready for us. You're not ready for us. And I was going to bat for you. And I still want to resolve this quickly, but the idea that we might, it was inferred that we may have delayed you 30 to 60 days. That's not the case at all.
Well,
You had a year, to my point, when this is over and I go to it, in order to meet the growing season window, the developer has to do his landscape first, just to let you know, right?
Yes.
That's how, otherwise, we can meet this challenge, every single applicant. He can't get his certificate of completion until a growing season after he asks for it. So they've got to start there. We have to figure that out. We have to change the language. Whatever the language is, we have to alter it, or we have to let him know, start your rain garden and start your replication first, because you're starting it last puts you 365 days behind the 8 ball. Yeah.
All right,
That's not your
And that's actually something that you and I spoke about, that,
All of us.
this being the first replication project that we've done, if I had understood fully exactly what it was, I would have made every attempt to have it not come to this.
Nope.
And that's-
Nobody does. Nobody does. They always use the detention pond. They don't finish it because it's a good place to dump water during construction. So,
And if I could ask the board again to consider, and I would concede to, pretty much would almost concede to whatever number the board or Mr. Erickson comes up with for a holdback on this. We have a closing that's there, and this is a substantial part of our livelihood, our business, which has been in the city of Fitchburg for the last 30 years. I'm asking for some way to work with us
How do we do
on
a
this.
partial?
I'm not even asking for a partial. I'm not asking for a partial. I'm not asking for a full compliance. There's money there, and then when it's done, I come in, I request when those 3 items are done, and really only one of them is wetland related, the other 2 are just site related. One of them's in the city right away. But when those 3 items are done, be more than happy to come back, and whatever time frame it takes at that point in time, I don't think there's anything wrong with that.
So let me ask you, you said you closed on the other 3 already.
Yes,
So
ma'am.
apparently, it's the 557 that their lender does not want to close without,
City of Fitchburg will not issue the certificate of occupancy on the last unit
but you have
So-
certificate of occupancies on the
until the
others.
sign-off comes from your office.
So we could issue a partial just on 557, and the other 3 units, even though they've been sold and closed on because that was not an issue with their lender, we still have control over those.
So what she's saying is we hold the cards on the owners and not the developer. So it still begs the question that the building department issued occupancy permits without a certificate of completion. That's still that's not your issue. Lucky you, right?
Yeah.
Somebody separated them and
Right, because so that's the other problem, is I don't understand how the deeds got, that from the master deed, that the other deeds got separated without that, but that's still got to be the case going forward. I don't, it's, Mr. Senni, I apologize, this is a very complicated case, I understand the situation where you're at, but...
When's your closing date,
Honey,
Mr. Senni?
September 15th.
do you choke on $5,000?
No, sir.
I'd like to get a check for $5,000 and hold it in escrow. Make it out to Michael Donnelly and the Fitchburg Conservation Commission. And what are you laughing at? That's my proposal.
Is this a motion?
It's just a motion.
Yeah, well, I'm talking out loud right now, and I don't want to be here, but I do know that 1, 2, 3, there's only 4 commissioners, and I know if this commissioner doesn't agree with that it's not going to go through. But I propose that we hold $5,000 in escrow until completion of that, and then we're going to issue a certificate of completion when he's done. And we still have a 2 or 3 year window of unfinished business because the growing season hasn't happened. So we do it all the time, and we don't get $5,000 all the time. That guy's coming before us again.
Well, and that's, so if I agree to this, because, Ralph, do you want to comment on this, or are you just watching the show
I'll be
here?
glad to comment. It seems to me that since it's Mr. Senni who needs to do the performance that we're requesting, to have him put up these funds as earnest money seems like a good bet for us, and we ought to go along.
All right.
I agree with Dr. Banks.
Motion.
Since I'm going to be the swing vote here, Mr. Senni, I will say that if I'm convinced to do this, I beg you to please perform as we're requiring, or if you think this was difficult this time around, it might be much more difficult the next time around. We want to show that you can perform to the standards that we're asking you to.
And my comment is $5,000 enough for this work to be done, should you not complete this work?
400 square feet of replication. It appears, what I heard, was the rest of the shortcomings were
Right.
planning related, not conservation related.
Okay.
And some drainage, but yeah, I think then that would be acceptable.
Motion to, Jesus, and gee, Steve, now you're telling me you can't start the work, or we can't hold you to when you're going to start the work. What do you think? All right, I get it. It's a contractor, and he's not out there doing it. Yeah. At any rate,
Actually, it will be something that I do hands-on myself with one of my guys.
Let's just put some dates on it.
Yep, I'm just, give me 2 seconds of the calendar. How about, by the 15th, that we have, I don't think there's any reason why I can't do it by the 15th. Next week was actually my target to get this done, so.
Okay.
Today's the 6th, so by the 15th.
Okay. And I'm not even going to include that, but it's included in the minutes, but I'm not going to include that in the motion of accepting a $5,000 good faith deposit on the completion of the wetland restoration area, and certificate of compliance be issued, a partial certificate of compliance be issued. And I would, that's my motion, but I would question at the same time. And so when does the man get his full, complete certificate?
So is it a
Nick has his hand raised, everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, Dr. Baker. Nick?
Thank you. I just wanted to offer a suggestion to the commission. If I were to hire a contractor and an engineer to perform wetland replication and all the monitoring that's required to make sure that it's successful, it would probably cost me $60,000. That's all I have to say. Thank you.
400 square feet of wetland seed mix on a prepared site,
Drop that bomb on us.
a site that
Engineering is
didn't
already
take
done.
the first time. It's prepared. It needs to be reseeded, monitoring. I got to get in that business because I do it for nothing.
Well, Councillor or Commissioner Donnelly, if you assume 400 square feet times $150 per square foot, which involves the labor, the seed, you're talking about having a professional engineer or a wetland scientist come out and monitor that site throughout the growing season to make sure that it establishes correctly, making sure the right hydric soils are on site. There's a lot that goes into a wetland replication. It's not just, rake out some loam and throw down a wetland seed mix. There's a lot that goes into it, and to make sure that it's successful, it takes a lot of effort. And I think $150 per square foot is a reasonable estimate. And that works out to be about $60,000.
$69,000 to be exact.
I would suggest that maybe we don't hold the full value of the work, but $5,000 seems to me to be a little bit low. If I was a contractor and didn't want to do the work, I would eat $5,000 all day to get out of that requirement.
That is my concern. Thank you, Mr. Erickson.
I'm an engineer without a license, so the numbers escape me, and I was reluctant to throw a number out there. I was going to throw 25.
And I apologize to Mr. Sini. This is nothing personal. I'm just calling the shots as I see them, and I feel like I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't question that number.
That was
Thank
my
you for that
question.
professional opinion.
Thank you, Nick. That was my question. Is that enough?
And
to do the work?
if I could just kind of,
Yes.
I think we can have some discussion on the amount. That's reasonable. I know that the seed mix is about $30 a pound, $30, $40 a pound. So a pound of grass seed, and you need, I don't know, you buy it in bags. It might be $600 for a 30-pound bag of grass seed. And that's enough to do the entire rain garden and this area, probably, 20,000 square feet. It's about 1,000 square feet per pound on the grass seed, on the wetland seed mix. I'm just saying that's the reason and to Mr. Erickson's point, the engineering is done, the survey work is done, soils are there, the elevation is there. It's literally just the planting.
It's not just the planting, because as we see with Mad River Solar recently, they have a wetland specialist that comes out and checks on the status of where this is, or the engineer reports on that. And so that's, I totally agree. I think maybe $5,000 is too much. I don't know if we're looking at 10. I mean, these are arbitrarily throwing numbers at a wall. I'm still concerned that, to that point, that, this is a cost of doing business, and it's cheap if I walk away from it.
$10,000.
I was just going to say, I think it was $10,000 that we got. Nick, do you remember? It was over on, I want to say Westminster Hill Road, where they put that house in that little lot.
So, Mr. Senni, if you're agreeable to that, because again, if you
Nick,
perform...
just a second. Nick, do you remember that?
I don't recall, unfortunately.
Okay. I want to say...
It was Ashburnham Street.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
Thank you, Rob.
414 Ashburn.
Yes.
Yes.
Yes, and I think we got $10,000 of a bond for them, and then he finished it real quick, and, because he wanted his money back, and it worked in that situation. Now, I don't know that was, I don't remember the dimensions of their wetland, of what they were doing. But I definitely would say 5,000 isn't enough, with my apologies, Mr. Sunny.
So, Mike, do you want to make a motion for 10?
Hell, I'll make it for 20. I'll do the work. I'd do it for 20.
As soon as you get the
Stop
work
building
done.
houses for 60. Sorry, that was, I apologize.
I mean, we just want to get you out of here, and that's all, okay? We just need to
I
work
made a
this out.
motion and I was wrong. If 5 was wrong and Nick corrected me, I'm reluctant to make another one. Joyce, I have to leave it to you.
To make another motion?
To make any motion you.
Okay,
mine
so
was
the
never
motion was
seconded.
rescinded.
Mine was never
Okay.
seconded, so it doesn't exist.
All right, begrudgingly, to move forward here, we will ask Mr. Sene to post a $10,000 bond to ensure completion of the replication area, and we have to set some parameters on when we think that we can determine that that's been established, so that just planting the seed is not enough to get the bond back.
Oh, I
It could
fully
be in the
understand that.
spring.
Little incentive. Give him 30 days and he comes back here. That work will be done. The only thing left will be monitoring.
Right, but that's still not,
Nevertheless, he can forfeit the bond if it's not done in 30 days. That's pressure on him.
okay.
Still monitoring is out there, but he's got to have it completed within 30 days. You got some pressure on him to perform. Losing $10,000. He won't.
But the planting is not enough, it's got to take. Putting the seed mix on, because we've already
where we're gonna be
done that once and it didn't
If he
take.
hasn't done the first step, he loses his money. If he's done the first step, the monitoring will always be out there. No matter what we charge him, the monitoring will always be out there, 1 growing season, 2 growing seasons, et cetera. Always. Regardless of whether we deal with this 10,000 or we give him a temporary, everybody we deal with, there's a growing season involved. So I second the motion. It was simple. You said some parameters. I said forfeiture of that $10,000 at the next 30 days. If the work hasn't been completed, we can return it, and the monitoring remains like it does on every other project.
Did Joyce make a motion?
Yes,
I did.
Okay, I didn't hear it.
Can
That
you
was
repeat
discussion
that
after her
motion?
motion, nothing more.
Can you repeat that motion for her,
Please.
Motion to post, Mr. Sene would post a bond for $10,000 to replant the replication area with, if it's not done in the next, if the planting is not done in the next 30 days, he forfeits the bond. And I don't know how we establish the parameters for,
We don't have to reinvent the wheel. We do it for everybody.
all right, we'll leave it at that.
Somebody going to second?
Yeah, Mike.
I would be happy to second that, provided Joyce is happy,
done.
comfortable with it. Not happy, comfortable.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Dr. Baker?
Aye.
Donnelly?
Aye.
Jacobs?
Aye.
Sarahfield, aye. So that motion passes. We'll see you in 30 days, Mr. Sunny.
Donnelly has 2 N's and 2 L's.
Yes, sir.
If just a couple of clarifying points. I will make sure that a check is issued tomorrow. Who is going to hold those funds?
Our department, the Community Development and Planning Department.
Okay, all right. Who should I notify? Because what we'll do is we'll do the planting. We will notify someone so that you can maybe stop out, verify that we at
You'll
least.
notify Herlin, because Herlin is our conservation agent, so you will
Okay.
notify her. And Herlin will also issue the certificate of compliance so that you can close on your property.
Okay, and then can we, right now, just make sure that I'm on the agenda for next month? So that we're all on the same page, that way I know kind of what to expect?
Yep.
Okay. Is there anything, any other of those details that we want to make sure that I just want to make sure that I don't not do something.
Madam Chair, the certificate of compliance would need be issued now and not through Herlin later.
I think what Joyce meant was, I will then give it to him.
Okay,
Yeah.
you'll receive it
have
from
it.
him.
Right,
We'll deal
as
with
soon
it.
as the check comes in, Herlin can release the certificate of compliance.
Sorry.
Okay.
That was easy.
Thank you.
I appreciate your patience. Thank you. Should I go now?
You can go.
You're
make sure.
excused.
Never should have come in.
Thank you, Mr. Senni. Moving forward. 155-652, 579 South Street, Hannigan Engineering. What are we doing for them?
Yes, South Street? No, no update from them.
Okay, so we're going to
Continued.
continue that. 155-715, 105 John Fitch Highway.
That is the Dunkin' Donuts.
So Mike Donnelly, Commissioner Donnelly and myself took a walk, and Mike, do you want to take over?
No.
Yes, please.
You were there. You saw what I saw.
You're doing good.
So it looked like everything was all set. We saw we did see some knotweed coming through the catch basin, right, Mike? Mike Donnelly was going to Commissioner Donnelly was going to reach out to the developers in regards to some issues that Mike noticed. There was plantings or some seeding that might have been done, but it didn't take.
No.
Okay.
There was a gravel strip between the paved area
Yes.
and the detention pond, a gravel strip. And it appeared that it was not seeded and not loamed, but everything else had a good compost mix around it, except for that one area. I said that I would call, and when we left the site, I made my telephone call, and that strip was by design and by plan. And that was to intercept anything off the roadway. That gravel strip was by design. It's to catch, to let the water run, but to catch any particulate matter, I guess. And the suggestion was that vegetation wouldn't exist there if for any plowing, driving, and/or runoff deal. So everything looked in order. It was a neat, clean job. It was done very quickly and efficiently. With respect to the knotweed, why we discussed it, it was a plantation of knotweed prior to development, and all they did was remove a detention basin's worth. It still exists behind there, and so my only comment was maintenance of that basin is required, or the Japanese knotweed will overtake it.
To that point, on the order of conditions, item number 14, which will carry into the certificate of compliance, states, long-term maintenance of the landscaped stormwater swale at the northwest end of the site shall be a continuing condition. So this will be in perpetuity, that they will have to maintain that, or
Herlin?
they will be in violation.
I probably brought that up at our site meeting, and understandably so. It's obvious, given the pre-construction condition, the post-construction condition was going to require maintenance of that
Continued
site.
maintenance. Yep.
And we need to know who's going to perform that maintenance.
Pardon?
Who's going to perform the maintenance?
Private property, and it's their sewage only, a single entity. It would be their responsibility.
No, I mean, the
Dunkin'
site
Donuts,
manager,
Joe.
the manager, yeah.
Joe, the owner, yeah.
I mean,
But
he's not going to do it.
Here we go. Motion to issue a certificate of compliance. Remember that we have outstanding a maintenance plan that has to be met, but we will issue a certificate of compliance.
Do we have-
Second.
Okay. We have a motion and a second. Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Satterfield? Aye. So the motion passes. Do you have it so we can print?
Yes? Do you want to do it now or at the end of the night?
Whatever you feel
Okay,
comfortable
at
with.
the end of the night. then.
Okay.
I'll lay everything out.
Okay, so moving on, we've got a forest cutting plan to discuss. Although, once again, well, I'd like some clarification here. 097.40418.24 Bennett Road.
Madam Chair, I can speak to that.
Well, okay, go ahead. Go ahead.
This was a forest cutting plan submitted on behalf of Commissioner Mark Christian and Mary Ellen Christian. It is not a forest cutting plan that we have seen recently that is commercial clear cutting. This is a proposal, it's a federal plan, 3-year program operated by a federally authorized forester and property manager to sustain a forest going forward. There will be some cutting. The first part of this program this year is invasive removal. And they are going to work on that first. Then there will be some cutting. And then there will also be some planting that will be a songbird acreage. So this is
year two?
That would be detailed on the plan, but I believe that probably is going to be in year 3 when that gets done. The cutting will encompass selective cutting, not clear cutting, to enable the trees and the forest that remain to grow and prosper. So it's really more about managing the forest. It's a federal program that they've put in place. So Mark asked me if I could convey that. The other information that I would like to convey that they sent today was that Chris Capone, the state forester, commented, and he said that they reviewed the plan. The gentleman that's working on it for the federal forest part of the program, his name is Toby Carter. And he's on the federal side. Chris Capone said, quote, you should be all set. I approve the cutting plan and all the proposed work that it has been reviewed and approved both by natural heritage and endangered species. That's the other problem, well, not problem, but what the concern is they have the turtles in that area, the endangered turtles, so they can only work during certain times of the year when the turtles are dormant, I guess. They don't, do turtles hibernate, but they become dormant.
Migrate.
And so that has been done. Chris's comment also was, Toby did a great job writing a very thorough plan, understanding that there are some time restrictions of when they can use equipment due to the turtle population. So it's a forest management plan that includes some cutting.
Okay, so with all respect to the applicant, what's to stop the state forester from changing this to a short-term plan, which has already happened? This is a due process situation, and that's my concern about this, is now the state forester has signed off on this without the commission getting our 10 days to review.
Well, he's...
Tracy, this is an entirely different thing, because this is under the Forest Legacy Program, which is the one that the Christians have agreed to participate in. It's a federal program designed to prevent the conversion of forest lands, and the whole thing won't go through if they don't adhere to their requirements. So it's entirely different from any forest cutting plan that we've ever seen here.
Well, I understand that, Dr. Baker, but this is Massachusetts, notice of intent under Massachusetts general law. It's not a federal one. We've got a paperwork in front of us from the state forester that's got long-term here, and I'm just saying it got signed without us getting, I'm just talking due process here. And maybe I'm out of order by asking this, but isn't the process that we get 10 days to review it and then they sign it?
Notification that we can comment. I don't believe that we have any jurisdiction over whether or not they
But we
can
didn't even
cut
get
or
to
not
comment.
cut. Ralph, you know about how that's what we're doing now. This is within
It's
our
already been
10-day
signed.
window as to whether or not we have any comment, but.
Sure, but the state forester signed it.
Yes.
So it
He
doesn't
signed it
matter.
saying he approves it.
So comments are useless.
So I'm just talking about due process here, and this has nothing to do with the applicants. I'm just saying due process. This was sent out.
I'm pretty sure all the forest cutting plans that we've ever been submitted have been signed by the state forester. We just get a period of time when we're given an opportunity to review them.
Is it a courtesy, Ralph, would you suggest?
No, we can actually, if there's let's say a misdesignated wetland or something like that, then we can bring it to their attention and they'll have to look into it. But that's why they're brought to our attention, as far as I remember.
When it concerns a wetland and crossing a wetland, so we take a look at it all. I think typically what they would say is best management practice crossing wetlands. So we can only react. Am I right?
Apparently.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. But again, if it's not on our
That has nothing to do with
radar.
the applicant. I love walking this property. It's got some great mushroom hunting on it. But I'm just saying due process once again. Don't bother sending them to us.
Well, no, they are legally required to send them to us, and we can comment if they're, like you say, if there's wetlands that we're concerned about, ask him to review that, or has he reviewed that? But the plans are established by the foresters and signed by the foresters long before we get to see them. That signature is not waiting for our comment. They
So they're not
technically
together.
have the ability, they can't override what we do, but.
Well, they also have the ability to refile this paperwork as a short-term management plan, which is what happened.
Yes, and then we've seen that a lot.
I'm just saying.
Understandably, we've seen that a lot, but my point in trying to explain this is, as Ralph made, this is a federal program. This is altogether different from any of the commercial clear-cutting plans that we've seen recently.
Heard, but what we had in front of us, the paperwork, was a state document.
Right.
So we don't have a federal document in front of us. I think it's awesome. I approve of all of this, but I'm just saying, as a matter of due process, I wanted that clarification. There we go.
For the record, I do believe that your concern is even Chris Capone's concern, and that, they're doing this cut, it's under a long-term plan, then all of a sudden, because of 61, and Ralph, you're the expert on 61A and 61B, but I know that they're working on trying to establish parameters so that they can't just do a forest cut under a long-term plan and then tomorrow change it to 61A, or so that's just short-term, and then, turn around and do something else with it. So that's a whole bigger issue.
Yeah, no,
than a
that's,
picture issue.
and that's where my beef is. But I'm glad that we got to hear about it. I'm glad it's happening. Like I said, great mushroom hunting on that lane.
That should still remain.
It should. So moving forward, Commissioner Donnelly, you had a comment you wanted to make.
Oh, we have one more thing. What about Sean Michael?
Oh, I'm sorry. I'm sorry. Okay. We've got, in attendance, we have Sean Michael. Please approach the thing. My apologies. Sean Michael has graciously offered to serve on the commission.
He may be rethinking that tonight.
Oh, this made me consider it even more, actually. I think it was a lot of emotion going on. I was enjoying it.
So
Motion or emotion?
Both.
We've got Dr. Baker joining us through Zoom. Nick Erickson for the DPW, Jeff Hillman from the DPW. We've got Commissioner Donnelly, who has been on this commission since before the Wetlands Protection Act. Commissioner Jacobs, myself, we met earlier, and you know her, Lynn. Please go ahead.
My name is Sean Michael Tantanarowat. I am a resident of Fitchburg at 165 Apple Tree Hill. Currently, I work for the Board of Health as the Food and Milk Inspector. I am also in school for public health at SNHU. And currently, the reason I'm mostly interested in this opportunity is since I moved into my house, I've been clearing out a lot of invasive species, a lot of decorative plants that don't really fit this environment, and then I've been trying to reintroduce a lot more wild or native species. And then hearing about this committee, I thought it would be a good way to learn more about the environment, about the conservation, and all that fun stuff that I find to be important. Removing the invasive species. We all are discussing the Japanese knotweed. It's a daily topic of mine. I apologize to my friends pretty often. But to me, it seems like a important thing in a society or community. So.
Thank you, Sean Michael. Do you have Oriental Bittersweet?
It's been removed.
Oh, that's good. You got to stay on top of
It's a
that
daily
stuff.
challenge, to
It
be honest.
is.
I walk my property
is.
every day, and I see little sprouts, and it's picked and picked.
I've been working on our yard for 10 years.
It's a never-ending battle, and I am aware of it. So.
Yeah. Yes. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you, and I do apologize again. I'm usually not that contentious.
You're doing your part.
She is.
Bit passionate, but that's okay.
Nothing wrong with that.
Thank you. We'll
Coming by. Yeah.
see you next month.
See you next month.
Does Ralph have any questions?
Ralph, do you have any question? Go ahead. Wait 1 second. Go ahead.
About 1984, I started going to Conservation Commission meetings. I think I applied, or I expressed interest in about 1986. I continued to go to meetings. In 1990, I was appointed around there. I was an associate member for like 3 years, never appointed. So don't hold your breath, buddy.
Should I wait 6 years?
You got to start. You got to start sometime. But there were other circumstances. So
Yeah, I was also an associate for several years before I was actually appointed.
for good reason, Ralph.
Yeah,
We move a little bit quicker now.
as you discovered.
Yes.
No, thanks for your willingness to serve, and we look forward to working with you.
I look
Yes,
forward to it too.
absolutely. And we'll try and get your resume out so everybody can read it if you are
I'll
okay
resubmit
with
it,
Okay.
I have it. I have the stuff you sent me, I think, or that I sent to Joan. I can send it out and CC you too. Yep.
Please, thank you.
Thank you very much. Have a
Thank you
nice
for
evening.
staying tonight.
Yes, thank you.
It was a good experience.
Oh, yeah.
Full and everything.
And it's only 8:07. We're doing good.
I expected 9, so I'm okay.
No, we're doing good. Thank you so much.
If I may.
Go ahead.
In no particular order. At some point in time, we should address the language of our certificate of compliance or our order of conditions. They have to be enforceable. So we're going to issue a certificate of compliance to every applicant that comes in here if they're deserving. Every one of them has a window of a growing season or 2 growing seasons for replication areas. We cannot issue the certificate of compliance, if we choose, until those growing seasons are passed and they've established viability, right? So it can't be done unless we told the applicant that he starts today and hopes that the growing season transpires between now and completion of his project. I don't know what the solution is. I just know that the burden's on them to do something that's never been done, because they always use a detention pond in rough shape to hold the water, because it makes sense. It's going to get degraded. It's going to hold water, but it's not up to snuff or completion standards. I think the burden's on us to come up with an equally realistic or more realistic expectation. That's all. I don't have the language tonight. I think you should give it some thought, and we could look up other conservation commissions and how they handle it. But it's a reality. It's legit. I see the irony there, if no one else does. Minutes. I read the minutes, front to back. They were better than what really happened. They were more. They were more. I was at that meeting, and I listened to what everybody said, and I spoke. And they're not going to be like that every month, are they? You dictated word for word.
No. That was done with artificial intelligence from FATV. That was computer generated.
That's what we talked about 90 days ago.
Right. Okay. So
I felt obligated to read it because I thought you did it. I read it from the beginning to end. It was spot on. Yeah, a couple of glitches on this, that, or the other thing.
Michael, I thought they were terrible.
Yeah,
absolutely useless.
It's illegible.
I actually had asked that we not discuss them because they were an embarrassment.
Right.
Because you can't even tell who's speaking.
I agree. Yeah, I get all that. I was thinking personally about Herlin. She went through that, and I said, never again. You can't ask an individual to do that. And okay, I get it.
So to that point, Ralph, once we talked about, Liz mentioned to us that says there's a transcript that comes from FATV. If we could just use that, let's use that for minutes. And it sounds perfect until we got to see that draft, and it is just... It's illegible. I mean, it just doesn't work. So Herlin and I spoke, and because we're trying to find the most efficient way to do minutes every month without spending hours and hours and hours and hours in transcript and writing all of that. Now, Madam Chair, as it stands right now, the video of the meeting serves as the minutes, and that is acceptable. The full recording of this meeting is an acceptable form of minutes, because the text, I mean, you can't, it's us speaking, you can't change that, so it is acceptable as documentation of the meeting, correct? Am I correct?
So approval is no conditions, clearly.
Well, what we can do, but right now, FATV is the holder of that property, let's say, or that
video.
That video.
Okay.
And we're concerned, I know your concern has always been what happens in 5 or 10 years when FATV does no longer offer people the opportunity to go back and look at that video anymore because they've purged that, it's too old. But if that video is acceptable as documenting our meeting, we could do that in-house. Herlin can download the meetings. We can have it on a computer. We can have it on a flash drive. We could print it to DVD and keep it ourselves and archive that video ourselves and just do a summary that sort of looks like our agenda. Okay, Oak Hill Road continued, Ira Johnson continued, so-and-so approved, and so on and so forth, and that's what would get filed, 1 or 2 pages. The full context is available currently by fatv.org or contact the Conservation Office.
Under those circumstances.
That's a proposal.
I like that, and the only issue about meetings for me is about referring back to the minutes, going back in court, going to the meeting, go to the minutes.
And the minutes would be, you call the video up, and you find the point that we're discussing that project, and literally watch the full discussion.
And if Mass General Laws allows for that, sounds good to me.
We just have to verify with our city solicitor.
Ralph, any comment? Doing it that way?
I kind of agree with where Michael is going, that there needs to be some easy place to go back and look into what was decided, and to have to watch a whole video is not practical. So I think that something more like the traditional minutes that we've been used to needs to go on the record.
So I think what Joyce was saying, Ralph, Commissioner Baker, that we could have a preface to the video that has an itemized list of things that were approved with a summary, But then if the person wants to really go into detail, it's currently being done with the planning board. What they do is they have a preface that has all the items in the agenda and then a brief summary of what happened, if a motion was passed and or a decision was made or something was denied, and then provided a link to the video to if the person wants to really hear the tit for tat.
I see.
I've been guilty of editing. You're proofing a meeting, you're going to accept them or not, or alter them. So the ability to alter them comes with how Herlin will interpret what transpired at the meeting. And it really is an interpretation of what was done. That could not be consistent with the video.
Yeah, but as far as...
That's why then we have a chance to change it. I mean, if I got minutes that I didn't agree with, I'd make an alteration as I have in the past, highlight it and say, could you change Michael to Mike? Because if there's a mistake made by the person doing it, I have the opportunity to change it. I wouldn't have it on film.
You would on the summary. So as we summarized, here's the plan, here's the vote. I mean, that summary, and the planning board, does it say who, so-and-so voted? There were 4 ayes and 1 no, then that would be on there. But the discussion part would be on video.
I'm old school. I heard Ralph say it, and I like the old way. I don't want to make more work, but work that's been performed in the past, I thought was tried and true, and government, well, listen, government recognized that it was legitimate in the past, and we recognize that AI is illegitimate in the future, so
We also have a transition in our office where we are now appropriating roles. So there is a person who will be an admin in our department my role as an admin when I was for planning board was to do the minutes, and that's what I did. I watched the videos and I wrote, I spent half a day at home and I typed up the minutes and then I passed them on to our principal planner. It's tedious, but it comes with the role. It's what you sign up for. Nobody's forcing you to apply for this job that has this as part of the job description.
I think, if I can interrupt, I think what we're talking about is the backlog of minutes.
Correct.
Right?
And going forward, and how do we...
And that's what I wanted to address, but I wanted you guys to finish the current issue with the minutes. So before we even move forward, we have to address these past minutes, which I think we agreed on in the May meeting, and I was going to hand out 3 months at a time, and you guys were going to review them. And we've came across some issues with those, which I will talk to each commissioner individually afterwards. But I think that what we agreed was 3 months worth of minutes until we got cut up to date. Right now, we are at May 17th, 2022. So if we can agree to have the minutes from May 17th, June 1st, and June 22nd of 2022 reviewed and approved by our next meeting, we can continue doing that.
Okay.
And also work on the back, the minutes that are missing from this year.
respectfully,
Yes.
there aren't commissioners available to sign off on those minutes, having not been present in 22. I think that attempt to justify going through the motions, to justify the open minutes laws or the meeting laws, I think we should disregard it. I think we should catch up. I think we should accept or reject them sight unseen. I hate to say it, but some people, number one, I remember every meeting and every applicant. I won't remember the language of the minutes. I'll remember maybe my language of the minutes, or maybe not. I forget a lot of stuff, like yesterday. I think it's not worth it. It's a waste of resource to backtrack those minutes and wait for approval from somebody that has no offense, no business approving minutes that were in 2 years ago when she was just a child. Gee.
Well, the minutes are ready. They just need to be reviewed. They're typed up.
Okay, so we respect
them
that
up.
work.
No, I didn't, Mike.
Somebody did.
Somebody did them, and they're just, it stands.
So out of respect for that work, let's review those minutes. But we do have to resolve this backlog of minutes, and I think just accepting the video of it would be, if we're okay with that, I mean, we just need to have something so that 20 years from now, somebody can go look it up. I mean, it was COVID, there was a whole bunch of emergency declarations that guided all that happened and kind of took over what we were doing, standard operating procedure.
To my point, farm the job out, do 12 months or 24 months, whatever floats your boat, and we'll approve them all at one meeting. Get them done, get it behind us, put them in writing, they'll be retrievable, we've satisfied the law. But never mind 3 months at a time, and sub it out to somebody else, pay them to do it. Don't let city staff, their time's more valuable.
Is that possible?
I know, but I don't know that
yeah.
there's...
I think we could, okay. Do you want to look into that?
Yes, we can definitely look into
Let's
that.
look
I don't
into
see why
that.
it wouldn't be possible.
Yeah, that seems like an easier way. I mean, we're just talking about what happened during COVID. And, I mean, for the most part, this was all still during COVID.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah, so, I mean, we're still under that emergency declaration of when that was happening. I would expect, well, I mean, that's when the meetings happened, during that.
Oh, during
we're
that
not
time.
still.
But then how do we
Correct.
move forward? What do we
I
want?
say we do a COVID, we do everything from COVID, as, like Mike suggests, if we can, and we have to work through this backlog.
Yeah.
Okay?
And I think maybe going forward, we can have the person in our office, I can do the face sheet, and if, whatever you guys decide. I mean,
I'm okay with a
tricky
with a
situation.
video of it, but if everybody prefers to have written minutes and we're going to have an admin available to possibly do that, then that's the direction we go. But I mean, that's whatever anybody wants to
We're enforcing
do.
the Wetlands Protection Act. Hire a temp agency to do it.
I would agree with that, too, just to get us up here.
Okay.
Do a separate COVID time period ones, and then post-COVID time period. And then,
And what do we do like for tonight's meeting?
I think moving
So that
forward, we
we're,
just
because we
have
want to
minutes for next
start,
week.
Start tonight, yeah.
Yeah, okay.
She's over there pushing a
We
pencil.
just go back
Good.
to the old way, doing things pre-COVID, and then we're good.
okay, so we're not going to do the video archiving.
Well,
We're gonna
for the
do-
COVID part, for the backlog, I think that's fine, but moving forward, I think I agree with Mike that we can just go back to doing it the way we did it before. It worked well. But we do have this backlog to resolve, and I think the best way we can do it, we should do it. And if it's going to cost us a little bit of money, then there we go.
Harlan, if I'm kind of reading this right, we should almost go down two paths here. One, that somebody's got to go back and make sure that we've got everything documented for the previous ones. But starting, if it's not this month, it's definitely next month, when is the admin person going to be available?
I'm not sure, but within the next month, before the end of this month, we should have somebody in the office.
All right, so then that person should do the September minutes so that going forward, we're not starting to backlog again.
I think that it's going to be behind because today's September 6th, and if they don't start till the end of September, it's not feasible to have minutes by the first week of October if you're just starting work.
All right, so we're going to be behind one more month.
Or I can try to squeeze these in.
Yeah, but your time is more valuable right now in other resources.
We can figure this out.
Respectfully suggest that Herlin just put the nose to the grindstone,
Yeah.
double duty.
Yeah.
Double duty this
We're
month,
going to let Mike do them.
double duty this month.
Okay.
Sorry, but who knows better to put them together than that woman over there?
Right.
Okay. Anything?
That's why I brought the minutes up, you know?
Thank you.
That's-
No, thank you.
But what I
Anything
really
else?
wanted to
Oh,
talk
okay.
about was a grant. Ralph, you probably want to talk about your thing that you shared with us as well, the series of seminars, but let me jump in front of you. Mass Wildlife Habitat Management Grant Program. I've talked about it in my mind for a decade. I'm going to do something about it, and I'd like to apply. I have 30 days to do it for a Massachusetts Wildlife Habitat Grant Management Program. I'd like to focus on the Green Mile between Greens Pond and Putts Pond. I'd like that cold water fishery to be recognized by Fitchburg State University, the city of Fitchburg, and landowners between Greens Pond and Putts Pond. And there's an application. I've never filled one out, but they give you a structure in terms of points and requirements, et cetera. I think it would be wonderful. I have some people, some college students who are into wildlife management. They're working this summer in that field. They hope to make a career out of that field, and they're seniors this year. And I think that would be a real feather in their cap to get involved now with this particular program, and they could do a lot of legwork. And I think it would be the beginning of addressing Greens Pond and Putts Pond, and we need to address them in the long term. But, so at any rate, if anyone wants to join me, you just tell me. And if you don't want to join me, I'm going to go on my own, and I'm going to get it done. And I'll be coming back to the Conservation Commission for your support in the application process, if nothing more than on paper, so that the grant would be viewed as worthy of giving. That's that.
I'm in.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'll help you write it.
So, okay, I'm going to, I already talked with I got the invitation today. I talked with the program manager, and I'm going to schmooze Fish and Wildlife and anybody involved in supporting what I have to do, and then I'll get to Fitchburg State, and when I get them on board, and when I get the Conscom on board, and when I get some other people from Fish and Wildlife on board outside of the granting authority, I will we'll get it together and see where it falls.
You've got, I have a little time in my schedule for the next 30 days to assist you.
Really? Good. That's short notice. I know it comes every year.
I know.
And I have done nothing about it. It's time I did something about it.
Let's do it.
So I also have a proposal for a grant program, Freedom's Way 2024 Partnership Grant Program, hosted by the National Heritage Area. They have grants up to $7,500, and you can use the grant for inclusive storytelling, education, interpretation, and curation, community planning and resource conservation, historic preservation, regional cultural events, and regional revolutionary stories. I know that Commissioner Donnelly and Commissioner Jacobs represented the Conservation Commission during that watershed event. Was it the? It was like a family through the schools. Yeah. I think this would be a grant that we can use towards something like that. Maybe something that we can have more frequently as a Conservation Commission, educational-wise. They are having a virtual prep on September 26th, which I signed up for, to tell you how to write the grant and put together your proposal, and then the grants are to be submitted starting October 1st. I want to move forward with this and see if we can get some money and hopefully get your approval.
Yes, very supportive.
That's awesome.
Okay. Yep.
Just my grant, I'm glad I got ahead of you. My grant proposals for 10 up to 75,000.
Okay.
Substantial money to be spent
Good.
in Fitchburg should we qualify. Good. Ralph, you're on.
Go ahead, Ralph.
Well, I'd be happy to just tell you that I'm very pleased to be able to share with you that a grant application that I spearheaded on behalf of the National River Watershed Association, which was Nick Erickson agreed to submit it on behalf of the city of Fitchburg, because municipal vulnerability preparedness grants can only come into municipalities. That got awarded. It's a little over $400,000, and it's to do a watershed-scale nature-based solutions plan for our watershed, focusing on 5 municipalities: Fitchburg, Leominster, Ashburnham, Groton, and Pepperell. And we'll be beginning that pretty soon, and be actually implemented by the NRWA staff, but with some volunteers like myself assisting them. So we're very excited about that, and glad to share the news with you.
Congratulations. That's wonderful.
Additionally, you invited us to 2 symposiums or seminars.
Oh, did I? I've forgotten if I did, and I'll have
It
to
was
look back.
about solar panels. It was about
Oh, that's
solar panels
right.
in the
Yeah,
Western
There's a whole
Mass.
series of, that's right. There's a series of seminars that, I think the first one was already this week. But if you sign up, I believe you can get the recording of it. And that's from a group in Western Mass that's trying to deal with solar panels in forests. It looked like a pretty comprehensive program. But I did not participate the other day, so I'm not sure how it went. Other than Melissa Hoffer, the climate chief for the state, gave the introductory talk this week.
I also sent out an email today before I left that MACC is having their fall conference. If anybody would like to attend, just please send me your information and I can register us through the department.
Good.
They're also having a fundamentals extravaganza, which are online courses, virtual courses, that are also accessible to anybody on the commission.
Those are great, too.
Yes.
Those are great. When's the fall conference?
The conference is going to be Saturday, October 28th in Devens.
All right.
And then the fundamentals will start, well, one of them started tonight, Wednesday, September 6th. They're virtual. And one of the courses is writing an effective order of conditions.
I did that course, and it's good, and I sent you
Yes. Yeah, I just saw it.
Tim and I went through that.
It said effective or enforceable?
Enforceable.
This one says effective.
Oh.
But there's fundamentals of wetlands enforcement also, so. And I wanted to touch base with everyone that, I did meet with Mia McDonald from Mass DEP today, and we went over the rules and regulations for filing WPAs. So there might be some slight changes going forward to how we file NOI, how we receive NOIs and file order of conditions and RDAs, et cetera, et cetera. So I will be reaching out to everyone collectively and letting them know what the changes are.
Perfect.
Could we count on you when you, if you were to attend any one of those classes, and we do not, can we count on you educating us a little bit at a time, each bringing back to us and ramming it down our throats, whether we want to hear it or not, to make us better prepared to do our volunteering job?
Yes, of course.
Thank you.
So on that note, can I adjourn the meeting?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Can I have a motion and a second to adjourn the regular meeting of the September 6, 2023 Fitchburg
Motion made.
Conservation Commission?
Second.
Commissioner Baker?
Aye.
Commissioner Donnelly?
Aye.
Commissioner Jacobs?
Aye.
Commissioner Satterfield, aye. Thank you so much for your commitment to public service. Thank you, Nick, for being here and sticking it out with us. We always appreciate you. Everybody have a good evening.
Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Ralph.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you
everybody.
all.